He's still the king. Now, William is a tough-minded guy, and he has...
Adjust your diary. There's got to be a lot to happen between now and then. You can't just brush everything under the carpet. The Oprah interview, the 6 hours of Netflix slagging off the royal family, the book Spare. You can't just sweep that under the carpet. There's got to be an apology.
Behind the golden gates of Buckingham Palace, a conversation took place that would shatter centuries of royal tradition. Prince William, heir to the British throne, spoke 3 words that palace insiders say sealed Meghan Markle's fate forever: beyond redemption.
The throne, but by that time the damage had been done, and this was all to cater to the American audience. So we forget this story.
Redemption. Finished. This is the untold story of how the future king went nuclear and why there will never, ever be a way back. And the gilded corridors of Buckingham Palace, where centuries of royal protocol have governed every whispered conversation and calculated smile, something unprecedented has shattered the ancient foundations of diplomatic silence. Prince William, heir to the British...
It's a very difficult one. He's been placed in a dilemma as to how to cope with this. I think we have to wait and see how this moves on as to whether there is an apology. Life can change in 2 years.
British throne, and long considered the steady hand of royal composure, has reached a breaking point that palace insiders describe as seismic and irreversible. After years of public humiliation, systematic betrayal, and what sources call relentless attacks on everything he holds sacred, the future king has made a declaration that will echo through royal history for generations. Meghan Markle, the American actress who married into the world's most famous family, is now considered beyond redemption. Not just difficult, not just problematic, beyond redemption. The phrase itself carries the weight of royal finality, spoken in hushed tones by those closest to William who understand the gravity of such a verdict. This is not the language of temporary family disputes or diplomatic disagreements. This is the vocabulary of permanent exile, of bridges not just burned but obliterated from existence. For a man trained from birth to maintain composure under...
make his recent interview look like a walk in the park. He will literally explode in rage because he is so...
the most intense scrutiny, to smile through scandal and navigate crisis with calculated calm. This represents a complete transformation in royal strategy. The gloves, as palace watchers are saying with barely concealed excitement, are finally off. And Prince William is not holding back anymore. Sources with unprecedented access to the prince's inner circle paint a picture of a man who has been pushed...
2 years in the royal family is even longer. So let's just see what happens on that front.
May I ask you, one of the parts of the story, this was in the Mail on Sunday, I think.
Beyond every limit, forced to choose between family loyalty and institutional survival. These are not the usual palace leaks or anonymous gossip that tabloids feast upon like vultures. These are deliberate, calculated revelations from individuals who understand the historical significance of what they are witnessing unfold in real time. To understand the magnitude of Prince William's nuclear decision, one must first comprehend the...
it's getting ridiculous, these two. Now, we have estimated, or there are estimated, going back to Meghan cashing in on her current minor...
extraordinary restraint he has shown over the past several torturous years. This is a man who sat in stony silence as his family was accused of racism on international television, who maintained diplomatic composure as his wife was painted as a cold-hearted villain in a globally broadcast character assassination. He watched helplessly as private...
of the story was that emphasis on getting in early with the invitation because the royal diary can fill up years in advance. How true is that in this scenario where let's say that the invitations have been sent out?
Family conversations were twisted into public narratives of cruelty and institutional neglect. He endured seeing his father characterized as emotionally distant, his late grandmother's legacy questioned and mocked, and his own character systematically destroyed in a best-selling memoir that topped charts around the world while enriching his brother's bank account. Through it all, William followed...
would already be booked for, I think it's July 2027. The king, for example, would he be booked already, do you think?
The royal playbook to absolute perfection. Never complain, never explain, maintain dignity at all costs even when the cost becomes unbearable. But those closest to him knew the psychological toll it was taking behind the carefully maintained facade. The sleepless nights spent strategizing damage control, the careful parsing of every public statement to avoid giving ammunition to critics, the constant tension of knowing that any family interaction might become tomorrow's explosive headline. And then came what palace insiders call the final straw, the incident so calculated and deliberately humiliating that even William's legendary composure finally cracked. The details of this moment, which royal correspondents have described as crossing every conceivable line of decency and respect, represent more than poor judgment or misguided publicity seeking. In William's mind, this was a deliberate act of institutional sabotage against the crown he will one day wear. The footage that emerged, quickly going
a few weeks ago, that he doesn't know how long his father has got. I mean, you don't say things like that in public. So he's got a lot of ground to make up, and the ground is with a capital F.
Going viral across every social media platform, was seen by millions and became a source of international embarrassment that could not be explained away through diplomatic channels. Prince William is not a man given to outbursts or public displays of raw emotion. Every word he speaks in public has been carefully considered, vetted through layers of palace protocol, and designed to serve the greater interests of the crown. Which is why royal watchers sat up and took immediate notice when subtle but...
and you've got to mean it. But at the moment, his father won't see him because his father sees him, that anything he says will be...
Unmistakable signals began emerging from his recent public appearances, like coded messages to those fluent in royal communication. During a visit to an army base, speaking to soldiers about deployments and family separation, William made what appeared to be harmless military banter about how some family members might not want to see that much. To casual observers, it seemed like typical soldier humor about deployment challenges. But to those who understand the surgical precision of royal speech, this was a carefully crafted dagger, delivered with plausible deniability, but unmistakable intent. Nothing will...
in a nanosecond. And at the moment, he can't trust him.
But you were...
William says in public is accidental or unintentional. Every phrase is filtered through decades of training in diplomatic language and palace protocol. When he chooses to deviate from standard pleasantries, when he allows even the slightest edge to creep into his voice, it sends shockwaves through the controlled world of royal watching. This was William, constrained by protocol but finding ways to express his true feelings about family members who chose exile over duty. But
out these kind of issues when you were working for Her Majesty.
We didn't have issues like that.
But you had to negotiate what would look good, what would look bad.
The public shade was just the beginning of what sources describe as a systematic campaign of institutional revenge. According to multiple palace insiders, William is not content with passive distance or diplomatic silence. He is actively advocating for complete and...
This would cause a massive headache to you if you were in the opposition.
It would cause a massive headache because you just don't roll over having been rubbished.
Permanent exile, a coordinated removal of the Sussexes from any remaining connections to royal life. This represents an unprecedented level of royal warfare, requiring consultation with constitutional scholars and legal experts who specialize in the arcane world of royal prerogative. If there was a line that Meghan Markle could not cross without triggering Prince William's complete and permanent rejection...
Over a wide platform. Netflix has got millions of listeners. Harry Spare book sold millions. Oprah has...
It was any attack on his wife, Catherine. The Princess of Wales represents everything William values in royal service: dignity, discretion, genuine commitment, and understanding that privilege comes with responsibility. The sustained campaign of personal attacks directed at Catherine has been described by those...
To rubbish the royal family to that extent, and then expect everybody to roll over and say,
close to William as the most unforgivable aspect of the entire saga. The Oprah interview's portrayal of Catherine as cold and unwelcoming, the suggestion that she made Meghan cry rather than the reverse, and the broader narrative painting the future queen as part of a racist establishment struggle
is forgiven. There's an equation to this, and the other half of the equation is Mrs. Wales, Mrs. Sussex.
I think this is such a difficult one. I've given this one a look
at William's protective core. These were not abstract criticisms, but personal attacks on the woman he loves above all others. Palace sources describe William's reaction as transformative, the moment his disappointment evolved into something permanent and unforgiving. For William, this conflict transcends family drama and represents a...
Since the story came out, and also since we found out that it was going to be in Birmingham, I think there is a lot of sympathy and understanding and respect.
Fundamental attack on the constitutional monarchy itself. The Sussexes' sustained campaign of public criticism has been viewed not as legitimate grievance, but as systematic institutional sabotage. Harry and Meghan weaponized their insider knowledge to damage the monarchy while attempting to profit from royal connections. This combination of betrayal and exploitation represents the kind of
King's position and William's, because I think anyone can relate to the fact that if you've been spoken about, particularly publicly, and had your personal issues with family,
existential threat that justifies the most extreme responses. William sees himself as guardian of an institution that predates him by centuries and must survive him by centuries more. This is not the same Prince William of 5 years ago. Gone is the cautious, diplomatic royal constantly playing peacemaker between.
of course you would be angry, and of course you would be well within your rights to do exactly as they have done, which is basically shut it down and cut him off because there's no trust. With that said, it's a tricky one because this is beyond
fractured family relationships. In his place stands a bold, determined future king with fire in his eyes and steel in his spine, shaped by personal crisis and institutional responsibility. This year has aged William, but also sharpened him into the leader the monarchy needs. Between King Charles's cancer battle and Kate's health crisis, William has stepped up with
risk. And I say this again with great respect to the family issues because I understand their position. But you are speaking about something that is bigger, and they do run
quiet strength that has now evolved into bold leadership unafraid of tough decisions, including permanently cutting ties with toxic family members. If that means turning his back on a wayward brother and
if they don't go and support it, given their position in supporting the military community, and it's particularly an event like this, which is a very good event that is held. It is a wonderful thing that is put on and means so.
Manipulative sister-in-law, so be it. The monarchy comes first, always has, always will. Inside royal circles, whispers have evolved into full-blown declarations. Prince William is done. Not annoyed, not disappointed, not even furious, disgusted.
That's something that is going to be discussed a lot in the palace.
You're absolutely right. There's got to be a lot of give and take on this one, and it would be a bad fit if there was no representation from the king. And these servicemen, ex-servicemen, they signed up the Queen shilling, and today it's the King shilling to serve. So it would be a very difficult one. They're faced with a dilemma. And somebody's got to come out with a resolution. Somehow.
When a future king uses that word, it's game over. According to insiders, he has reached a point of no return with Meghan Markle and collateral damage Harry. There is no path back, period. William's people stand behind him because when a future king draws the line, everyone knows not to cross it. With every public appearance, William sends a clear message. This is his house now, and he's not letting clout.
There is a presence of the king. I don't think there needs to be a presence of William, but certainly of the king as commander-in-chief, their chief, because they're still military-minded, and it would be right for him to be there. How it's done remains to be seen. It is 2 years away. A lot can happen in 2 years.
It had all died down because it did appear that Harry and Meghan, but particularly Harry in this instance, wasn't going to.
A lot of give and take on this one, and it would be a bad fit if there was no representation from the king. And these servicemen, ex-servicemen, they signed up the Queen shilling. It's the King shilling to serve. So it would be a very difficult one. They're faced with a dilemma, and
chasers crash the gates. The royal door has slammed shut, and William isn't looking back. Meghan's out. Harry's on thin ice, and the crown is drawing its line in gold. The future king has spoken, and his verdict is final.